Welcome to the special three-part series of What If Eddie Guerrero Did Not Die in 2005. Part one um, will be pretty much just looking at what his career would have looked like had he not died. Part two will be a very special one, which I won't spoil until the end of this video. And then part three will be like his farewell, like final run in the WWE. So I think Eddie Guerrero would have loved to stick around for as long as possible and get as many great matches and help put over people as well as keeping himself on the top. And the man just loved the business so much, and I think he would have one hell of a career. So I decided to do a three-part series and of what would have happened if Eddie Guerrero never died. So here it is. Starting off, we'll kick it off in 2005. He is part of the Men's Survivor Series tag match, or the Team SmackDown versus Team Raw. And the sole survivor will still be Randy Orton, but Eddie Guerrero does get eliminated because of Randy Orton not helping him. So that's a big problem for him, and then he gets pissed. Now he gets eliminated by Shawn Michaels. More on that later. We all know where this is going. But at Armageddon, or following his big victory, The Undertaker does not come back. But Randy Orton talks about how he is going to be the next world champion. So then the next SmackDown, it's going to be Batista versus Randy Orton for the World Heavyweight Championship. Eddie Guerrero is still pissed, so he comes back with a chair, smacks Randy Orton with a chair. Randy Orton wins by disqualification. Then Batista's like, "What the hell are you doing?" And then he gets mad, and then they start fighting. And then at Armageddon, the main event will be Batista, Randy Orton, and Eddie Guerrero in a triple threat match for the World Heavyweight Championship. And your winner will be Eddie Guerrero. Eddie Guerrero gets his big moment at Armageddon 2005. He is now your new World Heavyweight Champion. And then the first SmackDown of 2006 is going to be Eddie Guerrero versus Batista for the world title in a lumberjack match, which Eddie Guerrero wins. And part of the reason why Batista left is because he botched a Batista bomb to Mark Henry, but Mark Henry is nowhere to be found. So Batista does not get injured, and he will be at WrestleMania 22. So keep that in mind. Uh, However, Randy Orton during the lumberjack match, Eddie Guerrero gets his big victory. All the lumberjacks are leaving. One of the lumberjacks is Randy Orton, and he just RKO's Eddie Guerrero from out of nowhere. So at the Royal Rumble, it's Eddie Guerrero versus Randy Orton for the World Heavyweight Championship. This time, Randy Orton is more vicious, more aggressive, and he's just ready to just murder Eddie Guerrero, just beat the living hell out of him until gong. Randy Orton is confused. The lights go out. Randy Orton's like knocked to the floor. Eddie Guerrero takes advantage, lies, cheats, and wins the World Heavyweight Championship. Eddie Guerrero is still your world champion. The Royal Rumble winner is Shawn Michaels, and we pretty much just build up to Shawn Michaels and Eddie Guerrero for WrestleMania. And this is what the card will look like in my eyes. I looked through the original card, and then I looked through what's gonna happen. So I left a lot of stuff the same, like Big Show and Kane versus Carlito and Masters, and RVD wins the Money in the Bank ladder match, still with the same competitors. JBL beats Benoit for the U.S. belt. Keep that the same. Edge and Foley, you gotta have that. Mickey James and Trish Stratus, gotta have that. Because Batista does not get injured, he gets into a match against Kurt Angle in an interpromotional match or whatever. But Batista gets the victory over Kurt Angle. But around this time, Kurt Angle moves to ECW, but then eventually goes to Impact. So we'll keep that stuff like the same for the sake of this video. Randy Orton gets a shot against The Undertaker again. This time, Randy Orton will get the job done at WrestleMania. So Undertaker, Randy Orton 2. I know a lot of people don't like rematches, but this time it will definitely work because the last time these two competed was at what was it? No Mercy 2005, where Randy Orton sets the casket on fire and Undertaker was in it. Now that the Undertaker is back since from 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 October till January, we don't see the Undertaker, so now we kind of miss him, and he doesn't even wrestle. So this is the first match we ever see of the Undertaker back, and it's a clinic. It's just a great match. And Randy Orton loses to the Undertaker, so the Undertaker continues on with the streak. We do. This is a fun thing, but I was thinking of doing the King of the Ring. Do a King of the Ring tournament for SmackDown, and then the finals will be at WrestleMania. Who will be the King of the Ring? It's going to be Rey Mysterio versus Booker T, with the winner being Booker T. He becomes King Booker after beating Rey Mysterio. I think that would be a fun match. It would be really cool to do that King of the Ring finals. And plus, I had nothing for these guys, and it's better than Booker T and the Boogeyman. And it's definitely better than the other. Well, it's obviously Rey Mysterio got the world title shot because of Eddie's passing, but in this case, because Eddie's not dead, that doesn't happen. So we have that here. Speaking of Eddie, we finally get his match. Eddie Guerrero versus Shawn Michaels. It's a clinic. It's a classic, and Eddie Guerrero wins. He retains the World Heavyweight Championship against Shawn Michaels. At the end, they shake hands and they have the epic 5-star classic. We have a need a break match, so we'll do the Playboy Bunny pillow fight, whatever the hell that crap was. We'll keep that, and then the main event will be John Cena and Triple H. Keep that the same, even though people hated it. I thought it was a good match. It just, people cheered and booed the wrong people, but that's no fault to the freaking wrestlers. It's more a fault to the writing. Anyways, so Eddie Guerrero's done. He had one classic with Shawn Michaels, and he's ready to take on next upcomer. So he does like a beat the clock challenge or a battle royal or something where the winner will get a shot at Eddie Guerrero's World Heavyweight Championship at Judgment Day, and the winner will be Chris Benoit. Now, Chris Benoit just lost at WrestleMania the U.S. belt to JBL. At Judgment Day, JBL loses the U.S. belt to Bobby Lashley, and then the main event will be Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit for the World Heavyweight Championship. And a lot of people are probably saying, like, that's not a big money match, but it does play into the game, because I think Eddie Guerrero would work some ways to get Chris Benoit into the world title picture, and this would be great. And that will be the start of a mini feud that will continue right before. More on that later. So Benoit fails to beat Eddie Guerrero, and Chris Benoit's pissed because he thought this was going to be his big breaking moment yet again. Unfortunately, it wasn't. And Chris Benoit's not giving another world title match. Even Eddie Guerrero's like, stop, Benoit, you just get out. Like, you need to chill and get out. Meanwhile, Eddie and Sabu fight at ECW One Night Stand. Instead of doing that stupid draw ending, we're just gonna have Eddie beat Sabu cleanly. Who cares? But at Great American Bash, it's gonna be King Booker versus Eddie Guerrero for the World Heavyweight Championship, and King Booker wins with the help of Chris Benoit. Chris Benoit turns heel, talks about how Eddie has not been as a success as Chris Benoit. The only reason why he kept him alive is for just being a goofball, pandering to the crowd, and Benoit was just being himself, being a great wrestler. I am a megastar. I'm the biggest star. I main evented WrestleMania, not Eddie Guerrero, and he's at the top. And this will continue on through the summer and the fall. So Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit will fight at SummerSlam. Benoit gets the victory at No Mercy. Eddie Guerrero gets the victory, and then at Survivor Series, so it'll be Team Guerrero versus Team Benoit. That way, we could build up some mid carders in the process, and freaking Team Benoit wins with Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit being the final two, and Chris Benoit's the sole survivor. He just says that he's done trying to prove himself to Eddie, and he's just done. And then at freaking Armageddon 2006, the final face-off between these two competitors, it's Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit, no holds barred, and Eddie Guerrero gets the victory after having a classic. and then they move on from this. And then the first SmackDown of 2007 or the last SmackDown of 2006, we'll do a battle royal with all of these all of the top stars of SmackDown. Benoit eliminates Eddie Guerrero, just one last fuck you. And the final two will be Chris Benoit and some other top babyface, maybe. Well, Rey Mysterio gets injured around this point. I think Rey Mysterio was too injury prone around this point, so unfortunately, Rey Mysterio will probably go out with an injury around this time. So, and I don't have anything for him at Mania, just FYI. But anyways, Benoit gets the victory. And he will face Batista at the Royal Rumble for the World Heavyweight Championship. Does Benoit win? Nope. Batista gets the victory because we're planning on doing Batista versus The Undertaker at WrestleMania 23. But the winner of the Royal Rumble will be Eddie Guerrero. Eddie Guerrero, he talks about how, he was the world champion. Now he's ready to be back at it and be the world champion yet again. So he will go on to go for the first world title he ever won in the WWE, the WWE Championship. It's going to be the main event, John Cena versus Eddie Guerrero. He knows that if he fights John Cena, he will definitely be in the main event. But more importantly, he wants to be the world champion again, the WWE champion again, to be exact. Now, WrestleMania 23 will look a little bit different. Money in the Bank will probably keep it the same way. The only difference is that King Booker will be replaced by Chris Benoit. We'll keep Kali and Kane fine. For the ECW Championship, around this time, CM Punk was getting a big push, and RVD was still kind of like redeeming himself. So let's do Punk and RVD for the ECW Championship at Extreme Rules, with the winner being CM Punk. Undertaker beats Batista. Keep that the same. A filler match, Melina versus Ashley for the Women's Championship. And then the Battle of the Billionaires will be drastically different from the original plan. I'm going to do King Booker versus Shawn Michaels. This was the original plan before Triple H got injured. But we're going to do King Booker versus Shawn Michaels. I think that'll be a way more marquee match. And Shawn Michaels gets the victory. And then Vince gets his head shaved. It'll be like a long segment just because whatever. But the segment will be long enough to like calm the crowd down and then get ready for the main event, which will be John Cena versus Eddie Guerrero for the WWE Championship. Now, they're both baby faces. I think they could both pull off an ultimate baby face match, like two tag teams that don't like each other, kind of like Michaels and Cena. I think it will work. It will be a great match, and it will be just a fantastic match. But unfortunately, John Cena gets the victory, and this is when you start slowly turning Eddie Guerrero heel yet again. At Backlash, Randy Orton and Edge talk about how they got screwed in the Money in the Bank. Edge got injured because of Jeff Hardy's move from the ladder, and then Randy Orton kept getting attacked by everybody. So they want a shot at the WWE Championship, and John Cena accepts. It's the main event of Backlash will be Randy Orton, Edge, and John Cena in a triple threat match for the WWE Championship. And Eddie Guerrero is upset that he didn't get the shot he didn't get the WWE Championship, and then Shawn Michaels talks about how he is the showstopper, and then he knows that Eddie Guerrero could bring the A game. He's just not ready, and then Eddie Guerrero attacks Shawn Michaels, and then this will lead up to a feud. So at Backlash 2007, the rematch, Shawn Michaels versus Eddie Guerrero. This time, Shawn Michaels gets the victory. And then the feud will continue at Judgment Day. Shawn Michaels wins yet again, but this time by disqualification because Eddie Guerrero is just pissed that he can't get he can't beat him yet again. So this time he breaks his nose and does all of this just to like keep him just getting his ass kicked. Now, at One Night Stand, we're gonna do Eddie Guerrero and Shawn Michaels. We gotta get the final match in a stretcher match. This time, Eddie Guerrero gets the upper hand, and John Cena's still in a dominant run, beating like the Great Khali. Who cares at this point? But one of the biggest things that people talk about, if Eddie Guerrero never died, the Benoit tragedy would have never happened. Now, I do believe that that will not happen. Like if Eddie was still alive, he was still with us, Chris Benoit would have never done what he did. I do believe that that will happen. However, I think he would have enough concussions, and he will have to eventually retire. So at um, Night of Champions, after Benoit was drafted to ECW, he will fight CM Punk for the ECW Championship, which Benoit wins. He has a couple of mini matches in between, and then at SummerSlam, CM Punk gets the victory from Benoit again. And this time, I think Benoit will retire, and I think Eddie Guerrero will talk to him, say like, "Hey, listen, uh, Benoit, you need to take a break. Hope everything's good with you and the family. But I know there's good rehab place that helped me during 2001. I think deep down that would happen. I think that you can't predict the future, but I think Eddie Guerrero would help Benoit get healthy and good enough to not do what he did. Now, in Eddie Guerrero's case, following the one night stand after beating Shawn Michaels, he goes back into the world title picture at Night of Champions. It's going to be a fatal four way for the WWE Championship: John Cena, Randy Orton, Eddie Guerrero, and Bobby Lashley. The winner will be John Cena yet again. And then finally, the rematch from WrestleMania: Eddie Guerrero versus John Cena at the Great American Bash. Bobby Lashley and Randy Orton keep their feud at they'll do their feud at the Great American Bash, where Randy Orton beats the crap out of Bobby Lashley, sends him packing because Bobby Lashley is no longer affiliated with WWE. So, and then John Cena still beats Eddie Guerrero, and part of the reasons because they want to build up Randy Orton, who will beat him at SummerSlam and injure him. So Randy Orton will beat John Cena at SummerSlam. If not Unforgiven, but Randy Orton does get the belt. So that's the main event of SummerSlam 2007. What does Eddie Guerrero do at SummerSlam? Well, Triple H is coming back. I decided not to do King Booker. I think he would have just been off TV following WrestleMania 23, and then he eventually go to TNA. But in 2007, instead of Booker T versus Triple H, we'll do Triple H versus Eddie Guerrero, and that will be Triple H's comeback match, and Triple H gets the victory. Eddie Guerrero is done. Like I said, Benoit quietly retires or takes a break from professional wrestling following his big match against CM Punk, and we'll get to that a little bit later, maybe even in the next video. We'll see. But around this point, Eddie Guerrero is in a downhill spot. And around this time, Jeff Hardy is trying to get over after becoming the IC champion. He's trying to be his own single star. So Eddie Guerrero and Jeff Hardy will do a mini feud for the Intercontinental Championship. And they'll actually go back and forth with the belt throughout the rest of the year. They'll fight at Survivor Series. They'll fight at Armageddon, No Mercy. Every pay-per-view following SummerSlam 2007. And they'll have all different types of matches. But the outcome will be Jeff Hardy gets the victory by the end of this feud. Even though Eddie Guerrero gets at least one or two IC title runs in the process. And then around this time, Eddie Guerrero was kind of going nowhere. He's in the Royal Rumble yet again. He is kicking ass, and he unfortunately does not win the Royal Rumble. He does make it to the Final Four. The Final Four will be Eddie Guerrero, Batista, Triple H, and John Cena. One more thing I forgot to mention, because the Benoit tragedy never happens, Mr. Kennedy is still that storyline with the illegitimate son, Mr. Kennedy happens. So, Mr. Kennedy eliminates Triple H, even though he's been eliminated prior to the match. Mr. Kennedy inserts himself at the 27th spot because 4 winners have been there, and then we still have that epic John Cena moment where he wins. But the final 2, instead of being Triple H and John Cena, is going to be John Cena and Batista. Eddie Guerrero, unfortunately, does not make it, even though he is in the Final Four. And because Eddie Guerrero gets eliminated by Batista, he wants revenge. So at WrestleMania, it'll be, keep in mind, Eddie Guerrero's on Raw in 2007. In 2008, he's still on Raw, and they're gonna do a SmackDown versus Raw interpromotional match instead of Batista versus Umaga. I think we should do Batista versus Eddie Guerrero. That would be a fun match, different, unique match. We've seen it before. We know that these two have a great matches. This could be not as great maybe because it's without the world title, but it's just two guys that had nothing for Triple H fights Mr. Kennedy in a no holds barred match. Mr. Kennedy is a star, but Triple H still goes over. Punk wins the Money in the Bank ladder match. What happens to ECW after CM Punk goes on a tear on ECW? He'll lose it to the new upcomer Umaga. I think Umaga will be great in ECW. So I don't know where Umaga gets the belt off of CM Punk, and then he goes to WrestleMania as the ECW champion, and he could face maybe Tommy Dreamer or Sabu if he's still there, maybe Mick Foley, some top ECW talent versus Umaga. That would be very fun, I'd say. I'll probably do Umaga versus Tommy Dreamer, even though he's not very liked right now. Like I said, Punk wins the ladder match. Um, Flair and Michael still happens. Cena and Randy Orton wins, but Randy Orton wins by shenanigans, so Randy Orton is still your world champion, and then but this will show that this is a different John Cena. Mayweather and Big Show, that's still the co-main event. And then the main event will be Taker and Edge for the world title, with Taker winning. One big thing that would not happen if Eddie Guerrero never died is that La Familia would never happen. Edge would never have enough hook up with Vicky Guerrero. Instead, Vicky Guerrero will just be her own person. She'll like not even be on television. Eddie Guerrero will, not Eddie Guerrero, Edge would probably get over still on his own. Maybe mess around with Teddy Long, blackmail him to have all these opportunities. So all of these things would have happened, but that's pretty much what Eddie Guerrero would look like. Now, around this time, Eddie Guerrero seems to not be very happy in the WWE because he's not in the world title picture like he used to. So he decides to call it quits. So eventually, by after WrestleMania 24, Eddie Guerrero will ask for his release, and Eddie Guerrero will go to TNA. Now, that story will be saved for part 2. So part 2, we're gonna rebook Eddie Guerrero in TNA if he never died. So stay tuned for that. It's me, the ALE Double X Prince. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, and until then, I'm out.